All right, let me tell you a story. It's a bit of a cautionary tale, really, from one trainee teacher to another. It's all about a pretty perilous voyage into the choppy waters of a listening lesson and how a near total shipwreck led to finding a map that, honestly, can guide any of us safely back to shore.
I nearly drowned the crew today. Now, that is a direct quote from the journal of a fellow trainee, we'll call him Alex. Sounds a bit dramatic, doesn't it? But that's genuinely how he felt after what he thought was going to be a simple, fun lesson about international food. So you're probably wondering, what on earth happened on this trip?
So picture the scene. You've got a classroom full of 11-year-olds, the Griffins, as he called them. Alex holds up his phone, hooks it up to the speaker, and with a confident, right, listen to this, he presses play. And that's when the sirens began to sing. What came out of that speaker wasn't some gentle, easy-to-follow melody. Oh no, it was this wall of sound, an authentic, rapid-fire conversation just full of unfamiliar vowel sounds and super quick connected speech. For the Griffins, it was exactly like the siren song. Confusing, completely overwhelming, and just impossible to navigate. The result? A total shipwreck. We're talking glazed-over eyes, dead silence, and one poor student just giving up entirely, head flat on the desk. So this is the big question, isn't it? What went so disastrously wrong? It dawned on Alex that he'd treated the whole thing like a test. He'd basically chucked his crew into the deep end to see if they could swim, but he'd never actually shown them the strokes. He had tested their listening, sure, but he hadn't taught them how to listen. Looking back on it, Alex could see his crew was completely shipwrecked. But every good voyage story has a wise old mentor with a map, right? Well, a chat with his director of studies revealed exactly why the ship went down, and, more importantly, how to stop it from ever happening again.
Okay, so here's the heart of the problem. It comes down to two different ways our brains process language. First, you've got bottom-up processing. Think of it like trying to build a house by catching individual bricks as they're being thrown at you. You're just desperately trying to decode every single sound, every word. It's exhausting. Then you've got top-down processing. This is like having a picture of the whole house in your mind before you start. You use what you already know to predict what you're about to hear. It gets your brain ready for the journey. And that right there was Alex's big mistake. By just hitting play without any kind of context or preparation, he forced his students to rely only on that frantic, brick-by-brick, bottom-up processing. And what happens when you inevitably miss a few of those bricks? Panic sets in. Their affective filter, which is basically their emotional barrier to learning, it just shoots through the roof. The walls go up and learning stops. Luckily, the mentor came through with a map for these treacherous waters. A really reliable, proven blueprint to guide any listening lesson safely into port. It's called the SKOLA Listening Blueprint, and it's built on a really simple but powerful framework. And that framework is the pre, during, post flow. It's a three-stage approach that completely flips the goal of the lesson on its head. See, you're no longer just testing if they understood. Instead, you are actively training your learners in the strategies they need to actually understand what they're hearing. It's a total game changer. Okay, so we've got the map. Fantastic. Now let's actually use it to chart the course stage by stage. Right, the whole voyage is broken down into three really clear stages. First up is pre-listening. That's all about the hook and the map. Then comes during listening, which is the guided part of the journey. And finally, we have post-listening, where we get to apply what we've learned and review how it all went. So stage one, pre-listening. And let me tell you, this is absolutely crucial. Before you even think about pressing play, you've got to get them interested, activate their schemata, which is just a fancy word for all the knowledge they already have on a topic. Getting them to match countries to foods, for example, is a great way to warm up their brains. You also need to sort of clear the rocks from the harbor by pre-teaching any difficult words that might completely block their understanding, like chopsticks or skewer. And finally, you have to give them a really clear reason to listen. And now we get to the main voyage, the during listening stage. And here's the thing, you don't just do it once. The first time you play the audio, you set a really simple, broad gist task. Something easy like, did the speakers guess the national dishes correctly? It's achievable and it builds their confidence. Then you play it a second time, but with a more focused task, getting them to listen for specific details, like how do they prepare the food? This way, you're training different, more specific listening skills without the panic. And once you've made it to the other side, the post-listening stage is not just about checking answers and moving on. Gosh, that's such a missed opportunity. The key here is to use the audio they just listened to as a springboard for their own productive skills. Get them talking by discussing their country's national dish, or get them writing by designing a menu. You see? You've just turned a receptive lesson into a productive one. Now, through this whole process, from charting the course to arriving at your destination, there is one command, one golden rule that you must never, ever forget. It's like the lighthouse that guides the entire voyage. And it's this: always set a clear task before you press play. I mean, think about it. In real life, we never just listen to random noise, do we? We listen for a purpose. We're listening for our name to be called, for a flight announcement, for the punchline of a joke. Your students need that same purpose. Giving them a task first focuses their attention and turns them from passive passengers into active detectives on the case. So there you have it, from total shipwreck to skilled navigator. The journey that started with that terrifying Sirens song ended with a clear map that really anyone can follow. And the good news is, you now have that map. So the only question left is, where will your next voyage lead?